Okay, let's get started on video number 3 for the week. So come on in. I'm gonna tag a few people to come on in. Waiting for some folks to join me. So I pulled my hair up today. I want to first shout out all my Texas people. I don't know how y'all do this heat every single year. This is my first year in Texas. The heat, you walk outside and the phone fogs up. Like that's not, I feel like that's not normal. I feel like no one warned me about that. So I'm going to be, staying hydrated so I don't pass out. But come on in. We're going to talk today about parenting after an unhealthy relationship. So the topic today is, what will I tell my kids? A very near and dear topic to me personally. So come on in. And while I'm waiting for a few people, let me just adjust some more of my lighting. My eyes are a little bit red. I just got out the shower. When you got a toddler, you take late showers. So what will I tell my kids? So you've decided that the relationship that you were in was extremely unhealthy and you did not want your children to grow up and see that. Because a lot of us still believe that a two-parent household is better than nothing. But that's not true. So I have 2 ways I'm going to address that question. 1, what will I tell my children? As much truth as you, mom or dad, feel that your children can handle. Because guess what? We were all children at one point. Your children will grow up to become adults. So you can share truth without bashing that other person, because many of you might have heard this before. They will grow up, and I'm sure you're doing an amazing job raising your children. So they're going to grow up and see that parent for the person they are without you ever saying a thing. So bashing them, don't do that. You don't need to do that. It's too much energy. It's not worth your time. They'll figure it out on their own. So as much truth as they can handle, and even if you have to piecemeal that, right now I have the luxury of having a very young child, so I don't have to have that conversation right now. But for some of you who have older children, who have witnessed the abuse, who've witnessed the unhealthy relationship, who know something is going on, they know mommy and daddy aren't under the same household anymore, or things are different, you can piecemeal that as need be. Absolutely, Danielle. An unhealthy 2-parent household is sometimes more toxic. I'm going to say is always more toxic, because you don't have 2 healthy parents. So that was my one response to that. When I used to work as a victim advocate in Hawaii, I worked for the United States Army, and my job was to protect soldiers and their families and to ensure a safe home life, a home environment. When a person did not feel safe with their spouse or their significant other, I myself or some of the other advocates would take them down to the courthouse, and we would file for what you call a restraining order. The restraining order is essentially stating that that other parent is not healthy and not safe to be around my child. Now, in some toxic situations, you have parents who would be like, oh, you want to play that game? I'm going to go down and file my own restraining order. In the state of Hawaii, they like to err on the side of caution. So what they'll do is they'll grant a temporary one initially, and then in a few weeks you have to go to a court hearing and they determine if it's going to be permanent. But in the process of that, both parents have told the state that neither parent is fit to raise that child. And guess what happens to that child? The state takes them. I'm using this example because when you have 2 unhealthy people in a relationship, one being abused, the other one receiving the abuse, both abusing each other, whatever makes it unhealthy, you have two parents in that household that are both unfit to raise the children. So yeah, your children have two parents, but they have twice the drama, twice the abuse, twice the neglect. Because when you're putting all your energy into that partner, that relationship, and you're being abused, you're being mistreated, it's just unhealthy, you're not feeling yourself, you're not giving the children the time and the attention that they need. So if it takes you removing yourself from that situation, doing the work to become healthy and be a better parent, that is so much better than two unhealthy parents. So that's just a caveat. The other part to what will I tell my children? You tell them why you felt you would have been a better parent leaving. I think as parents, we seem to forget that we are also human and that we have feelings, and we want to be that superhero for our children. And you want to have some grandiose story and something amazing, and so that they don't feel badly about it, so they don't feel it's not their fault. You can say, mommy was hurt, and I teach you not to hurt people. And if you're feeling that, and this is for a younger child, obviously, if someone is hurting you, you don't have to take that. Mommy was feeling hurt, and mommy didn't want to take that. That's the conversation that I will probably have as my son gets older. But it's your decision. It's ultimately your decision how much of that truth, how much of that you want to share. Yeah, and I'm looking at some of the comments here. Hey, Brittany, you're absolutely right. Kids can feel it. So have you guys? So let's put ourselves. I know it's hard to pretend to be a child, but we were all children one day. Have you ever walked into a room and you knew someone was talking about you? They didn't have to look at you. They didn't have to say, shh, everybody quit talking, Paula's in the room. You felt that it was about you and not in a positive way. Children can feel the tension in the house. You're not hiding it. So you think you're stifling the smart comments, maybe if you're being physically abused, you see the scars and things like that. That secondhand trauma is always a doozy, and it teaches them, I'm going to keep trucking through it even when I'm hurt. And we do not want this generation to have that message that it's okay to endure being hurt and abused, and by the wounds will heal. We need to stop that narrative. If you're a parent and you're watching this and you're in an abusive relationship, a toxic relationship, an unhealthy relationship, because of your children, I just want you to know you're doing more harm than good. And this is not me bashing you, because it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but you're doing more harm than good. There were moments my son would look at me as a little baby, and I'm trying to fight back tears. I'm so upset, and I'm dealing with a lot. And he's just studying my face, staring at my face as an infant. How much more is that child picking up at the age of 5 or at 6? They can feel you. There's an energy that you're giving off. So sometimes you have to be selfish and put that mask over your face, like they tell you to do in that plane, before you turn around and help little Billy, little Susie. You have to take care of you first. You have to do that. Because what's going to happen is your child starts to feel like they have to be your protector, and they're going through life being your parent, trying to help you pick up your pieces, taking on your emotional baggage and labor. And some of you watching this now had to do that for your parents. And then maybe you're in a situation now where, hey Stephanie, you're in a situation now where you have children and you're like, well, I don't want my kids to be in the same position that I was in. But you as an adult could look at your past and say, I actually wish my dad would have left. I wish my mom would have left. They didn't, and we think we're doing our kids a favor. You know, we think we're doing something good for them when we stay. Mommy and daddy stuck it out. You know, your parents stuck it out. And then they become an adult and they're like, well, I almost wish you would not have, because I would not have had X, Y, and Z insert issue here that I'm still dealing with. And I want to throw this out there, that if you are thinking about your kids, I mean, that's amazing. You're being a parent. I mean, we think about our children. A lot of our decisions we make directly impact and affect our children. So you should think about them. But your children want to see you happy too. And your children know when you're not happy. I'm going to take a moment here. You guys have been blowing up my comments. Oh my goodness. Right, Danielle, you're saying no need to bash people. Some people are just agreeing. I'm not sure. When I catch the replay, I'll see exactly what you're agreeing to. Thank you, Brittany, for the kind words. Thank you for watching in. And also, you may not be thinking this far ahead. If you're just currently coming out of a unhealthy situation, I'm sure you may not be worried about getting into another even healthy situation. But life does not end where abuse stopped. And I'm going to say that again. Life does not end where abuse stops. So what does that mean? That means you have so much more life ahead of you. I don't know the years or the days or the numbers of your life. You don't know that either. None of us know. But if you have 50 more years left, you might be using them a little bit differently. Even if you had 10 years or 2 years left. Even if you only have tomorrow, you should pat it is, and as a survivor, I can say this, it is very commendable, impressive, bad, amazing to be in a situation that is abusive, to be in a situation that is unhealthy, and to get out of it. That is amazing. A lot of us may know people who are still 60, 30 years, 40 years into marriages where the couple will sit in the same room or be in the same house and never speak to each other. The kids have left the house and they kept it together for the kids, and now the kids are gone and they don't even know who each other are. But they were told that a nuclear family structure is what you need to make sure your kids are good. But if 2020 has taught you nothing, if it has taught you nothing else, is that the new normal is out. And as my coach Stephanie, I love when she says this, we are at the end of the world. And what does it look like for you? The world as we know it is over. And I absolutely resonate with that. And I believe that the world as we know it is over. A lot of our ideas and practices and how we used to view things and look at things and absorb information and the things that we felt to be truths, we're finding out that it's not true. I think a lot of times, and I'm speaking as a woman, I can't speak for men. A lot of times there's this stigma attached with a single parent. And from what I've seen, and you feel free to chime in, a lot of people associate a single parent with you don't have money. That's not true. You're sad, miserable, bitter. You're just waiting to find someone else to raise your child. You're looking for a new parent for your child. You have no support system. And insert whatever else negative things you might have heard about being a single parent. But what people fail to do is provide positive things that can come out of removing yourself. And now if you're fortunate enough to be in an amazing relationship and co-parent, that is amazing. That's ultimately ideal. If that's not your situation, understand that it does take a village to raise children. So if you have an amazing friend, sister, you have aunties, uncles, you have parents, you have a community, you have a group of people. And a lot of times when you're in an abusive marriage, or an abusive relationship, you were isolated anyway. So that person, that child, often didn't even have access to that community that they so much need for their growth, to feel loved, to feel supported. You know, I'm a single parent and I'm putting my kid in swim class. He'll be taking horseback lessons. I'm not poor. You know what I mean? I have support. I have people who love me and love my child and care for us. I don't feel the lack. Is it difficult? Yes. Yes, because I didn't make the child, on my own. So yeah, absolutely, that is difficult. But it's not a sentence of unhappiness. So if you're worried about what will I tell my children because of how your children will react versus what will I tell my children because I don't know how people are going to view me, or people might not be, supportive of my decision to leave. A lot of times, people stay because they did confide in a family member, and that family member said, well, your dad and I stuck it out for all these years. You can't do that. Or your aunt and I stuck it out for all these years. And they'll make you feel guilty. And I'm telling you, you don't need those people. It's your life. It is your life. Live for yourself. Take care of yourself. And if anyone makes you feel badly about taking care of yourself, nip. Introduce them when you feel ready to. But I for the life of me, I don't understand anyone who would down someone who wants to take care of himself. But it happens. So what will I tell my kids? As much truth as they can handle from a healthy mother. And the message is going to be so much different when you're healthier versus a message coming out of pain and coming out of bitterness and coming out of anger because you have stuck it out until you just physically couldn't. So I hope that, again, I want to thank you guys for joining in. This is day 3. I'm doing 2 more lives for this week, but I'm so grateful you guys have joined in to watch, and I really hope what I've been sharing with you guys have been resonating with you. And I will be frank and honest with you guys. This was very difficult for me. I am such a private person. I like to be lighthearted and joke and friendly, and I don't want people to know a lot of the things I'm dealing with. But I've been told time and time again that one day my story is going to help someone. And I believe that. And I believe that. And it may not be, this may not apply to you. It might apply to someone who you know. Feel free to share. I always make this public so that you can share this along. But had I known then what I knew now, I definitely would have been like much sooner. But I was so concerned about what people would think. What are people going to think? What are people going to think who were so supportive and, it's a great work. You're doing an amazing job. You graduated to a wife, because that's what society tells us so many times that's, for women, that's the ultimate goal. But what happens when you have reached so many other goals? You've attained, and there are people watching this, I know for a fact, you've attained so many goals. You are bad individuals. You are a force to be reckoned with. But you began to believe so many of the lies that were told to you, so you stayed. So what will I tell my children? I'm going to tell my child that your mom is a superhero who recognized what her kryptonite was, what her triggers were, and used it for her own power. So thank you guys all for joining in. Feel free to comment, message me if this resonates with you. As I said before, I am a transformation coach. I focus on helping women who are exiting, recovering, or transitioning from abusive relationships to step into their power, reclaim their power, and step into abundance. So thank you guys for joining.